Good morning to all of you. I am honored to be invited to be part of this IPI's technical session. Plastics, metals to be molded needs to be heated and it has to be cooled. Means we have to maintain specific temperatures at all points of operation to maintain the quality and the productivity of the component, quality and as well as the productivity of the component. So cooling becomes very, very important and integral part of the molding application. Let me briefly tell you about GEM. We have started our company in '84 with three first generation entrepreneurs. So I have not worked anywhere. So we are into the manufacture of compressed air dryers as well. We are the largest compressed air dryer manufacturer. We produce roughly about 6,000 to 6,500 dryers a year. And we are one of the few companies to start manufacturing the cooling towers in 1990. And in fact, we were one of the first engineering companies in Coimbatore to get ISO 9000 certified also. And 2007 was an eye-opener for us. Even though Orion also had similar range of products, we entered into them with a technical collaboration to service Orion chillers in India, and that has matured into a joint venture company by name GEM Orion Machinery. A brief about Orion. Orion Machinery Japan was started by Mr. Ota in 1946 to produce gears. Their other activities are they are into specific precision refrigeration equipments, clean air systems, vacuum pumps, jet heaters, humidity controllers, and dairy farming equipments. And they have manufacturing plants Japan, China, Taiwan, Hong Kong, Korea, North America, and now India. Their Orion team is about 600 direct employees with 34 subsidiary companies and having a total employee strength of about 1620 and about turnover in Indian rupees about 2,000 crores. Japanese first milking machine was made in 1957 and dry pump was made in 1965, which is still one of their premium products. They made domestic heater because of very cold climate in Japan. They are also a leading dryer manufacturer, compressed air dryer manufacturer in Japan. They also made the world, created the first inline test chamber for their products, and they produce about 40,000 chillers a year, and those are all precision chillers. So as a GEM, we have a pan-India sales and service, and we manufacture all cooling products, cooling towers, chillers, compressed air dryers under one roof. We have about 35 years of experience in our field. We have modular cooling towers, RCC for power plants. We have dry cooling tower for process applications like furnace, oil cooling, compressor cooling, plastic molding, oil cooling, all applications. We supply to a lot of major private and public sectors. And we are India's largest compressor manufacturer, and we provide end-to-end solutions for all products, means all verticals like compressed air as well as for cooling water. So some products we have shown is available in our website, so I will just rush through it. So just to give a brief of the product, we have cooling towers, various types of cooling towers, dry cooling tower, adiabatic cooling tower, and fin fan cooler. So these are used for various applications. I will, once I go through the program, you will understand. This is our Japanese range of chillers. We have large chillers from 3.5 to 30 TR, can be modular, used in a modular fashion. We have dual channel chillers, means single chiller with two temperature outputs for laser and other precision applications. Then we have small chillers, 0.6 to 2.5. Then we have EDM chillers meant for EDM machines, and we have for coolant chilling also. So these are our product ranges, what we have in GEM Orion. So some features of our chillers. It's a 50-50 joint venture between Japanese companies, so complete Japanese technology. You can have a look at the product also, it is displayed. We have very robust manufacturing facility. Our philosophy of forming a joint venture was to have a Japanese quality at Indian price. That is the main idea. They are non-cyclic and highly reliable, precision. We have just gone through, when we were listening to the keynote address, we could understand that a lot of plastics, quality, precision, tail lamps, a lot of components are being developed. And if you want to maintain the accuracy of those components, temperature accuracy is very, very important. So we are adopting the direct Japanese technology, so we have the precision technology with us. Also, it's environment friendly, 410A compressor, capacities, precise control, wider set point, and we are developing the inverter range also for all the chillers. In fact, what we have displayed here is an inverter chiller only. So just look at our facilities. We have excellent brazing qualifications, brazing, some testing facilities. We are directly linked to Japan for transferring data, for transfer of data and approvals and processes. We have an environmental testing booth where we test all our products for capacity, ambient capacity and reliability. So these are the systems what we follow of Japanese standards. Now I'm going into the cooling systems now. So I think I need not explain in detail about the cooling requirements for molds, because molds, hot plastic is injected into the molds and we have a cooling requirement, and it is important to select the right cooling system for each and every cooling application to maintain the quality of the product and output, as well as we have to have proper piping, sizing, which has a great impact on the productivity. I'll also explain in detail how each parameter affects the process and how advanced coolings can be used for different applications. So when we talk of cooling systems, we have basically two major types of cooling. One is an open cooling system, but which mostly is adopted now, which is nothing but the conventional evaporative cooling tower. So this is the process that conventionally people have been using, which in terms of water consumption or requirement, it is quite high when compared to the other processes. So when we talk of closed loop cooling system, we have two specific areas where we can reduce the water loss with some increase in power, or we have a system where we can have a complete cooling system without zero water. So when we talk of the water loss system, wherein we have it in a closed loop, we have two options. One is to use the evaporative coil cooling tower. In the subsequent slides, you will understand what each product means. Then the same concept can be replicated by using a conventional cooling tower with a plate heat exchanger and internal closed loop cooling. And alternately, we can also have adiabatic drive cooling tower for achieving specific temperatures. Of course, there are some restrictions in each processes which we will highlight during the course of the presentation. And we can also have a wet and dry combination, which is called hybrid system, internationally being used as a hybrid system. Okay, when there is a situation where we don't have water at all, or the water quality is so bad, or treatment costs are very high, then we talk of zero water loss systems, where we have to use complete dry coolers or a chillers, or a combination of dry cooler and chiller. So this is the concept of the advanced cooling systems which can be adopted for our molding and other different applications. So how to select the right product is based on the wet bulb temperature, which plays a major role in selection of the cooling system. Not only the wet bulb, the output or the input required for the process also determines the type of cooling what we require. Normally, we always tend to go to the lowest temperature or capacity possible by any cooling tower. For example, if 28 is the wet bulb, We always talk of 32 for any application, even when it is a cold, low temperature application, medium temperature or high temperature. We have been always adapted to the concept of using conventional cooling tower processes. If you want to save water, so now currently I need not highlight the importance of water to people in Chennai. People of Chennai are really undergoing a crisis for water. So many options are available which it can be extended to by various applications. So this is a conventional cooling tower, just an indication. I will not elaborate much on that. Theoretical evaporations can be from 0.7 up to 1.5%, including blowdown. And if proper blowdown or water quality is not maintained, this is what you see. You see a lot of salt formation. If you directly send this water into the mold, obviously the mold's channels, passages can get choked, resulting in high spots or areas where the cooling process cannot happen, and product quality rejections and productivity also is affected. So because of this, we have to use select a proper system. So this is a conventional evaporative system where we have the load directly cooling tower water is pumped into the process. To give you a rough indication, we have just indicated for a cooling tower of say about 100 TR or 150 TR, what will be the evaporation loss, and at 5 paise, 10 paise, 15 paise, 20, 30 per liter, how much is the cost? Anyway, I think IPL will share this presentation with you if you want. So any details required, we can discuss later. I'll skip through this. Now, in the advanced cooling systems, I was telling you about evaporative coil cooling tower, or conventionally called trombone coolers. So these coolers are nothing but conventional cooling tower with heat exchanger inbuilt into the cooling tower. So the process water circulates inside the bundle, so there is no contact between the actual cooling water and the process water. So here what we actually do is, when you compare it with the conventional cooling tower, we are only shifting the problem of occurrence from the mission to the cooling tower per se. So we are actually not saving any water, but we are shifting the maintenance issues from cooling tower, from the machinery to the cooling tower, so your mission can be protected. So that is the idea. The advantages and disadvantages are, system can run in closed loop, so mission life doesn't get affected, no scaling, no deterioration in capacity, so it is maintained well. The disadvantages, when compared to, because the evaporation loss is directly proportional to the heat load what you are removing, because the cooling tower works on principle of sensible heat. So once you try to evaporate, you remove the heat. So it will be directly proportional to the heat load. So you cannot save water, but you can avoid the problem of scaling or choking in your mother mission. Mother missions are more expensive, so you can protect that mission. So here water loss is same, but initial investment is high. And the cold water cannot be as low as for a conventional cooling tower, because we have indirect cooling happening. I will show you how the indirect cooling happens. So here is what is the actual product from P&I, how it works. So water goes in closed loop from the process, so there is no direct contact between the cooling water and the process water. So the cooling water works like a conventional cooling tower, will reach wet bulb temperature, near wet bulb temperature, will exchange heat with heat exchanger. So this heat exchanger will have an approach, and you cannot get the wet bulb plus 3 or 4 degree. Maybe you will be getting 2 or 3 degree higher. So that is one disadvantage of this system. Anyway, the evaporation loss is same. Now another system what can be adopted is, we can have a conventional cooling tower with a plate heat exchanger installed in between the process and the cooling tower. So that way these two circuits are separated and the process water is separated. So missions again are getting protected. At the same time, your mother missions are protected, and cooling tower will exchange heat through the heat exchanger. So this is how it is. So we have an intermediate heat exchanger. Cooling tower will go through one circuit of the plate heat exchanger, and process water will be through one circuit of the plate heat exchanger. So this system we have adopted in many locations like like United we have done, Minity. A lot of customers have adopted, like Nissan for their huge welding requirement. This is a standard process what they follow. They isolate the machine's water from the cooling water. So that way, here the water loss is same, at least the protection happens. So another method by which we can conserve water is to go for a dry cooler or a typical fin fan cooler. So here, these fin fan coolers are nothing but extended fin radiators, tubes with fins. So basically water will circulate inside the tubes and they have no direct contact with the air outside. So air will exchange heat through the fins, will remove the heat from the process. So here it's available in various can be designed in various configurations, and the idea is the temperature what we can get from this type of system, barely if you use a dry cooler will be, you will get ambient plus maybe 2 or 3 degree only you can get. So there are some processes requirements like your oil temperature, all that can be maintained by using this kind of a system. Now this is the typical adiabatic cooler. This installation is basically ASB. ASB is a Japanese company which makes PET molding machines. So this is for their factory. So this factory, this entire cooling system is taken care of for their entire molding line and complete machine line. We are taking care of by using this adiabatic coolers. So here what we do, we adopt the same dry cooler technology, but in front of the dry cooler we have some pads and use some quantity of water. Okay, this water consumption, this consumes water, but it will be about 30% or 25 to 30% of the conventional cooling tower water. So it saves around 70% water, but it has got a disadvantage that it's very power intensive, as well it is very capital wise it is very expensive. So this is one of the solution what we can adopt for conserving water. So when the ambient temperature is lower, the tower actually works on dry mode, and when there is the ambient temperature goes up, we can get the adiabatic. But again around 33, 34 is temperature what we can get. So most of the molding applications, power pack, so these cases can be adopted. So we can have a combination of wet and dry with dry or adiabatic or whatever. So this is an alternative for adiabatic. So that means it is a typical combination using a plate heat exchanger and dry cooling tower with cooling tower as well. So this is very effective, and again this cost is very high. So there are a lot of clients who take this concept, but they are unable to get this into this thing because of the cost. So this is the typical combination using dry cooler and the cooling tower using plate heat exchanger. So now we are coming to chillers. See, currently customers who are using multiple installations, multiple machines are looking at some kind of a centralized cooling system, and the centralized cooling system involves so much of piping, run through pipes, electricals, cabling, distribution, and then we have the problem of scaling as well, which we have to address. So adapting to get through all this, now what Japanese have been doing throughout is to use dedicated chillers for different machines, or maybe one chiller for 2, 3, 4 machines like that can be distributed, so that it can be cooled in complete closed loop. Cooling requirement will be taken care, and there is no scaling and zero water consumption. So the advantage must be you will get consistent closed temperatures at low temperature across all seasons, irrespective of the variation in wet bulb or dry bulb. You can also get precise control along with zero water loss. So chillers are the only closed loop options available for all conditions, like oil, which is maintained at say 40, 45 feet throat, or MTCs, whatever they require. So whenever we set temperature for mold, at say 7, 10, 12, 14, whatever temperature, for the oil, always a thermal valve can take care of the oil temperature requirement by controlling the water through the oil heat exchanger. Since current machines, molding machines, most of the machines are coming with servo controlled power packs, the heat load is very less. Normally the conventional will be about 40-50% of the installed HP, whereas servos consume only about 12 to 14%, and it cycles as well. So we can directly load that into the chiller itself. So that is one of the ideas what is possible. Then dedicated chillers, as I told you, to save on piping cost and very less maintenance cost, and one-to-one communication possible, so when machine is off, chiller can be off like that. So whatever chillers we have, our Japanese models are very precise controls, so it will be delivering temperature of plus or minus 1 degree. It can maintain any set point temperature from say about 7 to about 30 degrees. So this is a typical installation for oil circuit as well as for one machine or two machines. Mold separate lines and can come back to the chiller. So we can use a combination of dry as well as chiller also, how we can, like a cooling tower, to conserve water. So all these concepts are getting in because now water is becoming harder and harder, cost of water is varying throughout the year, availability is becoming a problem, then buying water is a problem, storing, treating, and again after treating that, whatever we are treating, that sludge also we have to throw out. So that also some restrictions are there. So it loads on the ETP. See, this is a very complicated cycle. Very, very difficult to estimate exact cost benefit. So maybe we can take some direct cost and estimate, but indirect cost, indirect pain, what we go through for the process is very, very difficult to ascertain. So just to briefly highlight, what are the areas of cooling required for IAM? Injection molding is mold cooling, oil, feed throat, and MTCs, most cases. So in closed loop applications, mold MTC cooling and hydraulic cooling can be both low and medium. Temperature setting can be 7 to 30. We can use chillers. Or coil cooling tower plus PHE combination, or cooling tower and combination can be used for hydraulic oil, feed throat, but cannot be used for mold because we can get only temperatures of 34 to 36. Adiabatic dry again delivers temperature from 35 to 38. So use it only for hydraulic feed or throat, MTC cooling and other applications. And dry cooling, in most of the cases, oil temperature can be maintained between 42 to 50 when people use synthetic. So only problem is if you want to use a dry cooler, we have to change the heat exchanger or the heat exchanger design approach. Maybe sizes we need to increase and directly give cooling water from the dry cooler to maintain the oil temperature. Now, I told in the beginning of the presentation that the pipe sizes and pressures are very important. So there is normally, when we meet customer and discuss regarding their requirement, there is always a gap between the flow and pressure. So people always feel that they need more pressure for their process to operate. So it is a simple physical fact that when we use free flow through the molds as channels, then the pressure requirement comes down, and pressure ultimately, pump pressure also comes down, which results in very huge savings in power. So we always think about pressure. Actually, if you see, for the water to just free flow through and return on gravity or mild pressure to a tank, only 2 bar is sufficient. But we see a lot of molds requirements, people go for 4 bar, 5 bar, 7 bar, 8 bar, so this may not be required. So we need to study, and very high flow also can affect the heat transfer coefficient, because the Reynolds number of water will be different and coefficients will change. So we should try to maintain a lower velocity so that the heat transfer coefficient is lower. And when we maintain low flow pressure, automatically the back pressure, if you don't go for back pressure design, then the pressures can be reduced. This can be done by proper pipe sizing, pressure drop calculation, pump sizing and is all vital for mold cooling, as well as the overall design ensures sufficient flow and pressure. So this gives a typical software output of what is the power or pressure drop when you wrongly select a pipe. See, I have shown as an example for a 200 LPM flow. If we select 2-inch pressure drop, the 2-inch pipe, the pressure drop for 8-meter length is 0.1 bar. But if we select 1.5 by mistake, instead of 2-inch, if we select 1.5, it is 0.3. And if you select 1 and 1.25, the pressure drop is 1 bar, even at 8-meter length. So that is figuratively shown here. If you see, the difference in pipe size is only so much, whereas the head is abnormally high. The power is also very high, as well as the yearly running cost. So for a typical example of 100 meter cube flow, if we wrongly design 2.5-inch pipe instead of 4-inch pipe, we lose pumping head power of almost 30 kilowatt, which is about 18 lakhs per year, which is a hidden cost. So it is very, very important that pipeline sizes and pressures should be properly maintained for flow through all channels where we have cooling water. So when we talk of the oil cooler, it is a high temperature application, and we have to maintain about 45 to 50 degree, which can be done by water at 42 also. We need not use water at 32 or 33 from cooling tower directly, or from a combination of 34, 35. So directly we can give a dry cooler. Plus, to achieve this, we will have to select the hydraulic oil cooler heat exchanger area slightly larger, so that we can get the same desired oil temperature when the oil inlet temperature is high. So if we run the dry cooling tower, we can change heat exchanger also. So that means no water loss, or we can use an ECT plus PHE combination, or use a chiller for totally avoiding water for the oil cooling application. So the net result is either we talk of water or power. Both are currently two extremes. Of course, now power, at least solar and other sources are coming, but water is becoming very difficult. So the idea that we should have a via media solution where we can have a optimum solution where we conserve water as well as optimize on power. So that is the idea. We have given so many options. So the summary is, for both oil and mold, we should run with one closed loop system for better piping and mold life. Waterless plant will be the future. We can think of various options to run the plant with lesser water. Dry cooler for oil, chiller, and for mold will be an ideal solution. For servo machines, because we need cooling water for the mold and oil, which is servo, the capacity of the servo heat load is very less. We can save on complicated piping, water distribution, paneling, so one-to-one dedication, so chiller is better. Then when we talk of centralized piping, proper piping and selection of pump is basic requirement for maintaining the cooling system. And as a company, we have all these solutions under one roof, which can be implemented for new as well as the existing installations. Thank you.